Close your eyes and imagine a boy. A boy born into struggle. A boy whose family barely had enough to survive. A boy who would go to bed hungry, dreaming of a future that seemed impossible. Now, open your eyes. That boy was Cristiano Ronaldo. But let me ask you this. How does a boy from a small island in Portugal, with no privilege, no connections, and no guarantees, rise to become one of the greatest athletes in history? The answer: pain, sacrifice, obsession. At just 12 years old, Cristiano left behind everything he knew, his home, his family, his friends, to chase a dream in Lisbon. He cried himself to sleep at night, alone in a city where no one knew his name. Kids laughed at him for his accent, for his skinny frame. They told him he was too weak, too thin, too small to ever make it. But instead of breaking him, their words fueled him. Before diving into more details, let's rewind back to where it all started. Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro was born on February 5, 1985, in Funchal, Madeira, a small island off the coast of Portugal. He wasn't born into luxury. In fact, his family struggled to make ends meet. His father, José Diniz Aveiro, was a kitman at a local football club, battling alcoholism. His mother, Maria Dolores, worked as a cook and a cleaner, doing everything she could to support her children. They lived in a small, cramped house with a leaking roof, barely enough space for the entire family. Ronaldo shared a single room with his siblings. Money was tight. Food was scarce. And yet, even in those tough conditions, one thing was always constant: football. From the moment he could walk, Ronaldo had a ball at his feet. He played on the streets of Madeira, barefoot, using rolled-up socks or plastic bottles when there was no football around. His hunger for the game was different. It was an obsession, a fire that nothing could put out. But life wasn't kind. At school, he was mocked for his Madeiran accent. His teachers called him too distracted. And by the age of 12, he made the hardest decision of his life, leaving his family behind to join the Academy of Sporting CP in Lisbon. A young boy, alone in a big city, crying himself to sleep at night, missing home. But even through the loneliness, through the struggle, he never stopped. Because deep down, he knew his story was just beginning. He trained harder than anyone, faster, stronger, obsessively perfecting every move, every shot, every sprint. His talent was undeniable, but talent alone is never enough. Then, the moment came. Sporting CP versus Manchester United. A friendly match that changed football forever. On that night, one teenager stole the show. His speed, unstoppable. His skills, unbelievable. Even Sir Alex Ferguson, one of football's greatest managers, sat up and took notice. Within days, Manchester United bought him. And just like that, the boy from Madeira was no longer a nobody. He was now the most expensive teenager in Premier League history. A star was born. But what if I told you that his real story had just begun? That this was just the first battle in a war that would test him again and again? Because greatness isn't just about rising. It's about falling and rising again. And Ronaldo, he would fall hard. His early days at Manchester United were anything but easy. The pressure was unbearable. The expectations were sky high. He was ridiculed for showboating, for doing too many stepovers, for not being strong enough to handle the physicality of English football. Critics said he was all style, no substance. But Ronaldo, he didn't just listen to the critics. He used their words as fuel. Day after day, night after night, he trained. He built his body. He sharpened his skills. He became faster, stronger, more ruthless. And then, something happened. The boy they doubted started proving them wrong. In 2006, he won his first Premier League title. In 2008, he won the Champions League and his first Ballon d'Or. The kid they once laughed at? He was now the best player in the world. But here's the thing about football, about life. The higher you rise, the harder you fall. And Ronaldo, he was about to face the biggest challenge of his career. What happened next would shake the football world. Cristiano Ronaldo had reached the top. A Premier League champion. A Ballon d'Or winner. The best player in the world. But for Ronaldo, being the best wasn't enough. He wanted more. He needed more. And soon, the entire world would witness a move that would change football forever. In 2009, Real Madrid came knocking. Not just with an offer, but with a statement. A world record €94 million transfer fee.
First of all, the massive breaking news today. It happened around 9:30 this morning. Manchester United announced they've accepted a world record bid of £80 million from Real Madrid to sign Cristiano Ronaldo.
Of course, it's a great challenge now. The people know my dream is to play in Madrid. This is the life. This is my new house, my new club.
The biggest signing in football history at the time. And just like that, Ronaldo had stepped into the most pressure-filled club in the world. A club where only legends survive. But with great expectations, come even greater challenges. His first season, a disappointment, injuries, doubts, and worst of all, failure. Barcelona dominated Spanish football, winning everything. And in the biggest game of them all, El Clasico, Ronaldo and Madrid were humiliated. A 5-0 defeat to their fiercest rivals. Critics were ruthless. They called him a showman, not a leader. A scorer, not a winner. A man who would never step out of Lionel Messi's shadow. But Ronaldo had heard it all before. And just like every time in his life, he responded the only way he knew how. By working. By grinding. By becoming unstoppable. Season after season, goal after goal, he turned himself into a goal-scoring machine. He shattered records. He broke defenses. He delivered trophies. And in 2014, after years of heartbreak, he led Real Madrid to La Decima, their long-awaited 10th Champions League title. But this wasn't just any Champions League win. It was Ronaldo's final statement to the world. He had silenced the doubters. He had stepped out of every shadow. He wasn't just one of the best anymore. He was the best.
Are you the best footballer in the world right now?
I think so, yes. In my mind, I'm always the best. I don't care what the people are thinking, what they say. In my mind, not just this year, but always, I'm always the best.
He didn't stop there. The records kept falling. Most goals in a Champions League season. Most goals in Real Madrid's history. More Ballon d'Or wins. More trophies. The man who once left Sporting as a skinny teenager had now become a footballing machine. But then, something happened. Something no one saw coming. 4 years, Ronaldo and Real Madrid had been the perfect marriage. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. Tension with the club. Disagreements over contracts. Whispers that Madrid was planning for a future without him. And in 2018, after 9 historic years, Ronaldo did the unthinkable. He left. But why? Why would a man at the peak of his powers, the greatest player in Real Madrid's history, walk away? The truth behind his departure shocked the world. And what happened next would change everything. After 9 years of dominance, after rewriting the history books, after winning everything there was to win, Cristiano Ronaldo walked away from Real Madrid. But why? Some said it was the tension with the club. Some said it was about money. Others believed he simply needed a new challenge. But the truth, it was deeper than that. Ronaldo felt unappreciated. He had given Madrid everything, his blood, his sweat, his prime years. But when it came time to renew his contract, the club hesitated. They hesitated on him. A man who had delivered 4 Champions League titles. A man who had become their greatest ever player. And yet, in the eyes of the board, he was replaceable. That was the final straw. In 2018, he shocked the world by joining Juventus. A new league, a new challenge, a new mountain to climb. And once again, the critics returned. He won't dominate Italy like he did Spain. Serie A is different. It's more defensive. He's 33 now. He's past his prime. But they forgot one thing. This wasn't just any player. This was Cristiano Ronaldo. And he wasted no time proving them wrong. His first season, 28 goals. Serie A champion. Juventus best player. The machine kept running. But Ronaldo didn't come to Juventus just to win league titles. He came for one reason, the Champions League. And in 2019, he faced his first real test. Juventus versus Atletico Madrid. First leg. Disaster. A 2-0 loss. Juventus were on the brink of elimination. And for the first time, people began to question, had Ronaldo finally met his limit? But what happened in the second leg became legendary. Under the lights of Turin, with the world watching, Ronaldo delivered one of the greatest performances in Champions League history. A hat-trick. 3 goals. One unforgettable night. He stood in front of the fans, arms outstretched, as if to say, "Did you really doubt me?" It was the kind of moment that defined his career. When the odds were stacked against him, he always found a way. But even legends have battles they can't win. Because soon, Ronaldo's world was about to change. And this time, it wouldn't be on the pitch. What happened next was a storm no one saw coming. But then, something changed. For the first time in his career, Ronaldo found himself in a team that wasn't built around him. Juventus struggled in Europe. The dominance he was brought in to maintain? It started slipping. The Champions League dream? It remained just that, a dream. And then, the unthinkable happened. Juventus crashed out of the Champions League twice. Serie A was no longer theirs to dominate. And Ronaldo, he was no longer untouchable. Critics started whispering again. He's too old. He's slowing down. His time is up. And for the first time in over a decade, Ronaldo was truly doubted. So in 2021, he made a move that stunned the world. A return to Manchester United. The club where it all began. The club that shaped him into a superstar. Fans welcomed him like a hero. His second debut, a fairy tale, 2 goals at Old Trafford, the stadium roaring his name. It felt like destiny, like history was repeating itself. But history doesn't always repeat itself. What happened next was not a fairy tale comeback. It was a disaster. A broken team. A divided locker room. A club that had lost its way. Ronaldo's goals kept coming, but Manchester United was falling apart. And soon, so was his time there. What followed next was the biggest humiliation of his career. A downfall no one saw coming. And the way it ended would change everything. United crashed out of every competition. They finished the season with their lowest ever Premier League points total. And Ronaldo, even after scoring 24 goals, even after carrying the team at 37 years old, the blame still fell on him. The media turned. The club distanced itself. And when Erik ten Hag arrived as manager, one thing became clear: Ronaldo was no longer part of United's future. And then came the moment that changed everything. A single interview. An explosive, unfiltered, no-holds-barred.
They're trying to force you out.
Yes, not only the coach, but the other 2 or 3 guys there around the club.
At the senior executive level.
Yes, that I felt betrayed.
And you think they're trying to get rid of you?
Honestly, I shouldn't say that, I don't know, but listen, I don't care. I'm always, people should listen the truth. Yes, I feel betrayed, and I felt that some people that don't want me here, not only this year, but last year too.
But the club, they had had enough. Just days later, Ronaldo's contract was terminated. A bitter, humiliating end to his legendary Manchester United career.
Ronaldo is out.
For the first time in his life, Ronaldo was without a club. And as the world prepared for the 2022 FIFA World Cup, one question remained. Was this the end of Cristiano Ronaldo? Had the greatest goalscorer of his generation finally run out of time? The answer was about to shock the world. Cristiano Ronaldo arrived at the 2022 FIFA World Cup for the first time in his career. He wasn't the guaranteed starter. Questions surrounded him. Was he still Portugal's leader? Out rounds, Portugal's manager made a decision no one saw coming. He benched Cristiano. Without him, Portugal delivered their best performance of the tournament. A 6-1 demolition of Switzerland. His replacement, a young striker, scored a hat-trick. The message was clear: Portugal could win without Ronaldo. The media ran with the headlines. Portugal has moved on. Ronaldo is finished. And then came the quarterfinal. Portugal versus Morocco. A chance to make history. And Ronaldo, once again, on the bench. He came on in the second half, desperate to save his country. But it was too late. Portugal lost. The dream was over. And as the final whistle blew, the cameras captured no club, no World Cup glory, no clear future. Was this how the story ended? Had Ronaldo's time at the top finally come to an end? Or was there still one last chapter left to be written? And then, just weeks later, came the decision that shocked the football world. Cristiano Ronaldo was leaving Europe. After nearly 2 decades of dominating the sport, after breaking records in England, Spain, and Italy, he was taking his talents to Saudi Arabia. The move to Al Nassr came with one of the biggest contracts in football history, over $200 million per year. But for many, this wasn't a transfer. It was a farewell. Critics called it a step down, a move driven by money, not ambition. They said Ronaldo had given up, that he had left the big stage behind. But for Ronaldo, this was never about retirement. This was about changing football forever. He wasn't just signing for a club. He was building a new era. And the impact, it was immediate. Within weeks, Al Nassr's global following exploded. Stadiums were packed. Saudi football was suddenly on the world's radar. And Ronaldo, even at 38 years old, he was still doing what he did best, scoring goals. But then, something unexpected happened. Because Ronaldo's arrival didn't just change his own career. It set off a chain reaction that would transform football itself. Within months, the biggest stars in the world started following his path. Ballon d'Or winners, Champions League legends, World Cup superstars, all moving to Saudi Arabia. And just like that, Ronaldo wasn't just playing in a new league. He was leading a revolution. But the real question remained. Could Ronaldo still compete at the highest level? Could he still prove that he was more than just a name, more than just a legend of the past? Because no matter where he played, no matter what league he was in, there was one thing Cristiano Ronaldo never stopped chasing: glory. And what happened next would silence the doubters once again. Cristiano Ronaldo had done it again. He hadn't just joined a new league, he had transformed it. His arrival in Saudi Arabia turned the football world upside down. What was once seen as a league in the shadows was now on the global stage. But here's the thing about Ronaldo: he never settles. He doesn't just want to compete. He wants to win. And from the moment he stepped onto the pitch for Al Nassr, he had one goal: dominate. The critics still doubted him. They said he was past his prime, that he wouldn't be able to handle the physicality of a new league. But just as he had done time and time again, he proved them wrong. His debut, a spectacle. His first goal, a statement. And soon, the floodgates opened. Hat-tricks, clutch performances, last-minute winners. He wasn't just playing, he was thriving. But Ronaldo's impact went far beyond the pitch. Because suddenly, Saudi Arabia wasn't just about one superstar. More and more footballing icons began arriving. Benzema, Neymar, Kanté, Mane. One by one, they followed the path that Ronaldo had created. The Saudi Pro League wasn't just growing. It was changing football history. But for Ronaldo, the mission was far from over. Because despite all the records, all the trophies, and all the success, there was still one thing left to prove. Could he still compete on the international stage? Could he still lead Portugal? Could he still chase the one trophy that had always eluded him, the FIFA World Cup? And so, as the world looked toward the next international tournaments, one question remained. Would Cristiano Ronaldo add one final chapter to his legendary career? Or was time finally catching up with him? Because if history has taught us anything about Cristiano Ronaldo, it's that when you count him out, he always comes back stronger. And what happens next might just be his greatest comeback yet. Cristiano Ronaldo had defied the odds time and time again. He had proven that age was just a number, that greatness wasn't temporary, it was a mindset. But now, as he approached his 40s, the world was watching closely. Would he slow down? Would he finally step aside? Would time, the one opponent no athlete can outrun, finally catch up to him? But Ronaldo had never been like other players. While others declined, he evolved. While others faded, he reinvented himself. He wasn't just maintaining his level, he was still breaking records. In the Saudi Pro League, he wasn't just competing, he was dominating. He finished as the top scorer, delivering performances that reminded the world exactly who he was. But for Ronaldo, club football was only part of the story. Because there was one thing that still fueled him, one thing that still kept him obsessed: Portugal. He had already given his country a European championship in 2016. He had led them to a Nations League title in 2019. But there was still unfinished business. The FIFA World Cup. The one trophy that had always slipped through his fingers. And as Portugal prepared for the next international tournaments, one question lingered. Would Ronaldo be there? Would he still be leading his country? Would he get one last shot at World Cup glory? The media doubted it. Pundits said his time with the national team was over, that he should step aside for the next generation. But Ronaldo had spent his entire life proving people wrong. So when Portugal announced their squad for the next round of international competitions, the world waited. Would his name be there? Or was this finally the end of an era? And then, the squad list was revealed. Cristiano Ronaldo's name was still there. Still fighting. Still leading. Still chasing one last moment of glory. But could he do it? Could he still compete against the world's best? Or would this be the tournament where the world finally said goodbye to one of football's greatest icons? One thing was certain, whether it was his last tournament or not. Cristiano Ronaldo was not going down quietly. Because if there was one thing history had proven, it's that Ronaldo's story was never over. And the next chapter was about to be written. Cristiano Ronaldo had once again defied expectations. The world thought his time with Portugal was over. The critics had written their headlines. Came the real test. The game was changing. Younger stars were rising. The competition was tougher than ever. And at his age, every match, every goal, every performance was judged under a microscope. Could he still lead Portugal to glory? Or was this his final run in international football? The stage was set. A new generation of Portuguese talent surrounded him. Players who had grown up idolizing him. But now, the question was, could they win with him? Or did they need to move on without him? From the very first match, Ronaldo made his presence known. His hunger hadn't faded. His fire hadn't dimmed. He still demanded the ball, still pushed his team forward, still had the same obsession with victory that had defined his entire career. And then came the moment. A crucial game. A must-win situation. The kind of pressure that Ronaldo had thrived under for years. The world watched, waiting to see if he still had it in him. And then, just like before, he delivered. A moment of brilliance. A goal that reminded everyone why he was one of the greatest of all time. But was it enough? Because as the tournament progressed, the reality became clear: this wasn't the same Portugal. The team had evolved. The tactics had changed. And Ronaldo, he wasn't just fighting against opponents anymore. He was fighting against time itself. And then came the defining decision. The coach made a choice. A bold, controversial, shocking choice. Cristiano Ronaldo, benched. For the first time in years, Portugal was playing without their captain in a do-or-die match. The cameras zoomed in on him, sitting on the sidelines, watching, waiting. Had football finally moved on without him? Had Portugal outgrown their greatest ever player? And when the match ended, the answer became clear. Portugal had been eliminated. The final whistle blew. The stadium fell silent. And there, walking off the pitch, was Cristiano Ronaldo. His head down, was he? Or did he have one final battle left in him? Because if history had taught us anything, it was this: whenever the world doubted Cristiano Ronaldo, whenever they thought it was over, that's when he came back stronger than ever. And maybe, just maybe, he wasn't finished yet. Cristiano Ronaldo was not done yet. The critics said his time was over, that he should step aside for the next generation. But when Portugal announced their squad for Euro 2024, there was no doubt Ronaldo was still leading his country. This wasn't just another tournament. This was his last dance. One final chance to add to his international legacy. One final shot at European glory. Portugal's journey began in the group stage, and all eyes were on Ronaldo. Would he still be the difference maker? Could he still deliver on the biggest stage? Their opening match against Czech Republic was tougher than expected. Portugal struggled to break through, but in the dying moments, Ronaldo delivered. A perfectly timed assist, a key involvement in a winning goal, and Portugal started their campaign with a 2-1 victory. Next came Turkey, a team full of energy, but Ronaldo's experience made the difference. In a moment of brilliance, he provided an unselfish assist, showcasing his evolution, not just as a goal scorer, but as a true leader. Portugal dominated with a 3-0 win, securing their place in the knockout stage. With qualification secured, Portugal faced Georgia in the final group game. It was a rare off night for the team, and an unexpected 2-0 loss raised concerns. But Ronaldo, he was focused on what came next, the knockout rounds, where legends are made. The round of 16 brought a showdown against Slovenia. It was a battle of nerves. Portugal dominated possession but couldn't find the breakthrough. Ronaldo had his moment, a penalty in extra time to send Portugal through. He stepped up and missed. For the first time, doubt crept in. Was this the moment the world had feared? Was time finally catching up to him? But when the match went to a penalty shootout, Portugal needed a leader. And Ronaldo, despite his earlier miss, stood tall. His presence alone gave his team confidence. Portugal survived. A dramatic victory. A second chance for Ronaldo. And then, the ultimate test. The quarter-finals. Portugal versus France. A rematch of the Euro 2016 final, where Ronaldo had lifted the trophy after leaving the pitch injured. This time, he was ready to fight until the very end. But would history repeat itself? Or would this be the final chapter of his legendary career? The world was about to find out. Portugal versus France. The Euro 2024 quarterfinals. A match that carried years of history. The rematch of the Euro 2016 final, the night Ronaldo had lifted the trophy while watching from the sidelines. But this time, he was on the pitch. And this time, he wanted to be the one to decide the outcome. The stadium was electric. Two giants of European football. Two teams filled with world-class talent. And in the center of it all, Cristiano Ronaldo. From the first whistle, it was a tactical battle. France, led by Kylian Mbappé, looked dangerous on the counter. Portugal, with Ronaldo as their leader, pushed forward, searching for an opening. Then, in the 35th minute, Portugal got their chance. A free kick from just outside the box. And there was no doubt who would take it. Cristiano Ronaldo stepped up. The world held its breath. Could he do it again? Could he deliver another iconic moment? He struck the ball cleanly. It curved over the wall, dipping perfectly. But the French goalkeeper made a world-class save, tipping it just over the bar. Ronaldo clenched his fists. He wasn't done yet. The match remained locked in a tense 0-0 battle. Every tackle, every pass, every moment felt like history being written. And then, in the 75th minute, heartbreak. France struck first. A lightning-fast counterattack. A perfect finish. And suddenly, Portugal was on the brink of elimination. But if there was one thing Ronaldo had proven throughout his career, it was that he never gave up. In the 89th minute, Portugal had one last chance. A cross into the box. And there he was, Cristiano Ronaldo, rising above everyone, defying gravity once again. A bullet header toward the goal. And then, silence. The ball crashed off the crossbar. Inches away from salvation. The final whistle blew. Portugal was out. Cristiano Ronaldo stood on the pitch, hands on his hips, staring into the night. For the first time, it felt real. This could be the last time the world saw him in a major international tournament. The cameras zoomed in. His face said it all. The pain. The disappointment. The weight of a career just about one match. This was about his legacy. And Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't done writing it yet. Cristiano Ronaldo had given everything. He had fought. He had led. He had come within inches of another historic moment. But this time, it wasn't enough. Portugal was out of Euro 2024. And for the first time, the world was asking, was this the end? As Ronaldo walked off the pitch, the cameras captured a sight that no fan ever wanted to see. His eyes filled with emotion, his expression unreadable. He wasn't just processing a defeat. He was facing a reality. Stars were rising. Younger players were taking the spotlight. And the one question that no one had ever dared to ask before was now impossible to ignore. Was football finally witnessing the last of Cristiano Ronaldo? The speculation was immediate. The headlines were everywhere. Ronaldo's final tournament. Is this the last time we see him for Portugal? But Ronaldo. He stayed silent. No emotional farewell. No retirement speech. Just a quiet exit. A plane ride home. And a future full of uncertainty. Days passed. Then weeks. And still, the world had no answer. Would he continue? Would he step aside? Or was there one final chapter left in his legendary career? And then, Cristiano Ronaldo did something that only Cristiano Ronaldo would do. Instead of slowing down, instead of taking a break, he did the exact opposite. He went back to work. Videos surfaced of him training, pushing his body harder than ever. His intensity, the same as it had been at 18 years old. His hunger, unmatched. Because for Ronaldo, defeat was never the end. It was just the beginning of the next fight. And as the next season approached, one thing became clear. Cristiano Ronaldo was not done yet. But what was next for him? What was his next goal? The answer was about to shock everyone. Cristiano Ronaldo had faced setbacks before. He had been doubted, criticized, and counted out. But every single time, he came back stronger. And this time was no different. The world expected him to slow down, to step aside, to start fading away. But instead, he did the unthinkable. As the new club season began, Ronaldo wasn't just playing, he was dominating. At Al Nassr, he wasn't just another star in the Saudi Pro League. He was the star, the driving force, the player everyone came to watch. The records kept falling. More goals, more assists, more performances that reminded the world that he wasn't finished yet. But for Ronaldo, club football was never enough. His heart still belonged to Portugal. And as the qualifiers for the 2026 FIFA World Cup began, he had a message for the world. The ultimate prize. At nearly 40 years old, Ronaldo was doing something no one thought possible. Competing at the highest level, leading his country. It wasn't over yet. Cristiano Ronaldo had proven the world wrong once again. At an age where most footballers retire, he was still performing at the highest level. Still scoring goals. Still leading. His time in Saudi Arabia was not just about football, it was about legacy. The league had transformed, and Ronaldo was at the heart of it. His presence had drawn global attention, bringing some of football's biggest names to follow in his footsteps. But while the Saudi Pro League was growing, Ronaldo's hunger for competition hadn't faded. He was still breaking records, still chasing trophies, still proving that he wasn't done yet. And then came another historic moment. Cristiano Ronaldo became the first player in history to reach 200 international caps, a record that no one before him had achieved. But he didn't just show up for the milestone, he delivered. He scored the winning goal, marking yet another chapter in his unstoppable career. Portugal was now looking ahead to their next big challenge, qualification for major tournaments. And Ronaldo, he wasn't just a part of the squad. He was still leading the attack, still scoring goals, still playing like a man who had something left to prove. As the matches went on, one thing became clear: Portugal wasn't just a team of the future. They were still a team of the present. And at the center of it all was Cristiano Ronaldo. So what's next? What does the future hold for one of football's greatest icons? Will he continue playing at the top level? Will he lead Portugal into one last tournament? Or will he finally decide to step away from the game he has given everything to? 4 years, the world has tried to predict Ronaldo's next move. But if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that Cristiano Ronaldo writes his own story. And whatever comes next, the world will be watching, still proving that he could compete. But even Ronaldo knew, time waits for no one. The conversations had already started. Pundits debated his future. Some believed he would retire soon. Others speculated that he would push himself until he physically couldn't anymore. And then, Ronaldo himself gave an answer. I will continue playing as long as my body allows me to. As long as I can still help my team. That was the mentality that had defined his career. The hunger. The obsession. The refusal to stop just because the world expected him to. And so, match after match, season after season, he kept delivering. With Al Nassr, he was still a leader. Still scoring, still competing for titles. And with Portugal, he remained a key figure, showing up in crucial games, proving that experience and mentality were just as important as speed and power. Then came another milestone, another reminder of just how rare his career was. Cristiano Ronaldo became the all-time leading goalscorer in international football. No player in history had scored more goals for their country. No player had achieved this level of longevity at the international stage. It was more than just a record. It was a statement. A statement that Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't just one of the greatest players of his generation. He was one of the greatest of all time. But now, the world was watching closely. The next season. The next tournament. The next decision. Would he keep going? Would he finally slow down? Or was there still one last chapter left in his story? Because if there's one thing history has proven, Cristiano Ronaldo never stops surprising the world. And whatever happens next will be football history in the making. Cristiano Ronaldo's career had already surpassed every expectation. The young boy from Madeira who once had nothing had built a legacy greater than anyone could have imagined. But even after 2 decades at the top, he was still writing history. With each passing season, the football world kept asking, when will he stop? But Ronaldo wasn't just playing. He was still dominating. Still scoring at a rate that defied logic. Still competing with players nearly half his age. And then, another milestone. Another record that only he could achieve. Cristiano Ronaldo became the first player in history to score over 850 career goals. No other footballer had reached such heights. His numbers were no longer just records, they were untouchable. But Ronaldo had never been just about statistics. For him, football was always about winning. And at Al Nassr, he wasn't there just to finish his career, he was there to make history again. He led his team to trophy after trophy, proving that even in a new league, even in a different part of the world, his hunger for success never faded. His influence on football was undeniable. The Saudi Pro League had transformed since his arrival. The biggest names in football were now making the move, inspired by the path Ronaldo had created. But even with all of that, there was one thing he still refused to walk away from. Portugal. His love for his country had never changed. The pride of wearing the national team's jersey, the feeling of leading his nation, it still meant everything. And as Portugal continued their journey in international football, Ronaldo remained at the heart of it all. The younger generation looked up to him. His experience, his leadership, it wasn't just about goals anymore. He was a symbol of what was possible. So now, as the world looked ahead to the next tournaments, one final question remained. Would Ronaldo play in one last World Cup? Would he continue to defy time? Or was football finally approaching the end of an era? One thing was certain. Whatever Cristiano Ronaldo decided to do next, the world would be watching.